3 minutes, that's past the hour of 9 a.m. And of course, this is SMB. We are still driving your business in here as we see what's really transpiring out there into this particular world. And of course, don't forget Zabu just made your trading experience much more easier as they start tonight to hash, and you'll be availed with quite a number of options as you'll be able to buy government stocks and bonds of different companies at the same time. And of course, like I say, the market opens at 8:15 a.m. and closes at exactly 3:15 p.m. still East African time. Do something new for yourself. And if you want to catch us on our social media handles, Twitter at SMART24TV, Facebook SMART24TV, and of course YouTube SMART24TV Live, and you will be in position to catch us at whatever part of the globe you will be at. Okay, now we are looking at Uganda's inflation, and of course, according to the recent report by the Uganda Bureau of Statistics, we see that there has been an increase by 10.7%. Of course, a month before, Uganda's inflation was recorded at 10%, but the recent statistics reveal that it is now 10.7%. Since the year began, there has been a progression in regards to increment in inflation. So the point is, where is this heading for this country? Maybe just to have a brief review, ever since this year began, let's take a look at each month what inflation rate was like to where we've reached till date of October. And of course, before we entered the new year, that was in December, the inflation, Uganda's inflation was at 2.9. That was in December, that was 2021. And then we came to January, and it reduced further. It was 2.9. Now in January, it reduced to 2.7%. So that was a bit progressive. But then we came to February. It started to increase. Actually, the month of February, that's where we see a gradual increase starting from there, because from 3.2%, that was in February. Come March, it came to 3.7%. So you can see still there is a very big increment in there. And then come April, it increased to 4.9%. And of course, I remember this particular time, that's when we saw an increase in the prices of food commodities, most especially and essential commodities, where we saw people all over the country, most especially in the western areas of Uganda, in particular Food Portal, where really food prices really rose so high. Okay, now looking at still here, I'm looking at May. Yes, May it came to that was 4.9%. So the increment was really eminent in there. Then we came to June. To June, we see from 4.9 to 6.3. Now this was an increment of about 2.2%. This is quite. This was quite very big change, a very big increment regarding the inflation. Then of course from May, I will see from 6.3 May. So we came to June 6.8. Then we came down to July, where the inflation rising at 7. That's 0.9. And of course from July we came to August to 9.0. Now this was almost at the peak of all the rise of the inflation. Then we came down, of course, from August to September at 10. It came at exactly 10%. But it's been quite unfortunate, the recent statistics that's now we are talking of October. There was a 0.7 increment, bringing it to 10.7%. And of course, this is really affecting quite a number of stakeholders, business personnel within the country. And of course, businesses are not really a bit stranded, most especially the private sector. And looking at majority of, for example, the small and intermediary enterprises, or what we call as MSMEs, and they find that some of this inflation is being attributed to the imported inputs of these farms. Some of these small SMEs, they use their inputs are imported, and when they come in the country, they come with inflated prices. And at the end of the day, when the personnel operating that business is of course charging you the price, he's definitely going to consider the money that he has spent when he's importing that particular input, and that is going to largely determine what price is going to charge you, the final consumer. So you can see that's how it is as of late. So that's the situation. And of course, quite a lot are worried regarding that. Because remember, we are into a scenario whereby even the bank rate has increased, and they find that majority of the businesses that borrowed money at a certain rate, they have to pay back that money at that new bank rate policy. So you can see, accompanied with the rising inflation, so that makes business a little bit much more frustrating for the business personnel that are operating that. So I can feel what they're going through actually. It's really quite something so frustrating. But now see, the countries that we are looking up to, it's even much more worse. For example, the United States of America, the inflation is about 19%. So what does that mean to the to the developing economies regarding that perspective? So it's not only just in Uganda. This is what I want to assure you, it's a global issue everywhere. Of course, 19% in the United States of America may not have as much impact as compared to 10.7% in Uganda, though still, in some way, it will affect the global economy. Instead, the developing nations, once the inflation rates go high, the impact is being felt by the developing nations regarding that. And it all comes back to the private sector, most especially the small and intermediary enterprises, which really contribute a big percentage regarding to the nation's GDP. And they are the biggest, one of the people that contribute a big percentage to the Uganda's revenue. So you can see that great dilemma that is in right there regarding the current inflation levels. All right, at this particular time, let's get into an insight of a certain business entrepreneur, a business personnel, let me say that, and he's giving his opinion regarding how is this inflation really driving their businesses? How are they feeling about this entire situation? How is it like for them? What is the way forward? Let's take a look.
The increase of 10 to 10.7, it's a big increase. We must accept that. To me, I would be glad if the inflation rate was 6%. But this shows that we are headed not for better, we are headed for worse. So it's about us shifting from our comfort zone and prepare for the worst. But by adjusting, most especially the individuals making adjustments and know that things are not right. Yes, we may say things will go down, yes, but where will they find you? If you look at the world inflation, it's hitting harder every day. If you look at the fuel costs, if you are looking at the demand and supply, if you're looking at the government policy, all these things, determine, the increase of inflation. But however, the whole world is suffering. We just need to adjust ourselves and accept what is coming, but prepare that once it stabilizes, we still remain strong. Yes, so many factors. If we look at the fuel, prices shooting up, it's because of inflation that prices, because of demand. The demand is there, but the supply of fuel has been low. If you look at the demand of the commodities, most of the commodities, the demand has shot up, and yet the supplies are not there. And what do you expect? When you see the government tightening payments, it's not that they don't have money, claim they don't have money, but they're trying to limit the cash flow into the economy so that they can control inflation. Sometimes overpaying salaries also is cause of inflation. Yes, government can print paper money and give it to you. You wanted 10 million, 20 million. They can do that, but it all causes inflation. That's why no matter how you claim it and you think it's just about printing money and dumping it into your economy, it causes inflation. So all that, there are components of increase of our inflation, and we can't avoid it. So the demand and supply, especially for the commodities that are usually used, commonly, have shot up. Yeah, some countries have hit even 15. I am happy that the government, most especially the Bank of Uganda, is trying to control. Of course, they are using the method of increasing the CRB and
economic side of rural administration.
just to manage it. They are trying to manage it. But as they use the rough method, the tough cranking, it affects a lot of people. But I'm sure that with our great economics in this country, they will manage, because many countries are suffering a lot of inflation. At our 10.7, yes, it's high. It should be 6, really, but I believe it has always been worse, and it has been controlled back and forth. I believe it's going to be controlled. It's not, we are not an island as Uganda. We just accept that. But I know the government will control it. They have exhibited the best in controlling inflation, much as it is high now. But because of the circumstances surrounding, it will take us some little time. Business person, of course, the effects are too much. If you look at the dollar rate, the cost of doing business is the worst today. And it came at the time when, I'll call it very unfortunate that for all this period, as Uganda, we've not had public transport that really serves, serves the people. It's why we are suffering today, that you cannot even regulate private transport, that it's costly now to get an employee from, let's say, Kajansi or whatever, to come to work. It's very costly how much money you're supposed to give them a day. And now, when you find that the government, has to control inflation, but all these factors you see shows that we need to move faster and make sure that the cost of running businesses in Kampala is reduced down by simple. Introduce public transport that is serious and controlled by government. That when government wants to help people, it will show you that yes, let us subsidize public transport so that employers can have it cheaper to have employees into Kampala. Because today, if you don't have, almost every day you have to spend 15,000 on an employee, which is very costly. So it's a big effect on our businesses. Most people are closing, and more people are closing. If I may not close, for example, maybe I'll cut off almost 60% of the employees. And the more I drop people out of my employment back to the economy of Uganda, Uganda is going to suffer. Maybe I used to pay as you earn, and now I've cut them off, so you don't get pay as you earn. So equally, the government is being affected, like us, the business community. It's a big effect that, yes, we need to tighten our belts, but we can escape it after some time. We are, of course, control inflation. You realize that when the inflation is high, the Bank of Uganda raises the CBR because they are trying to reduce the appetite of borrowers. That's what I understand, reducing the type of borrowers. Because people have been borrowing for luxury, or sometimes you have stocks not moving, then you think maybe I need to restock more, my things are not moving, I don't have enough stock. Then you run and borrow again, and yet by the time you realize that you messed up. So by the increment of the CBR is that they are trying to reduce the borrowing appetite. For most people who would think that it's them the problem, not knowing it is the economy that is the problem. So by the reducing the appetite of borrowers means that you're cutting off some people, so that later when the economy increases, you lower the borrowing rate, and they're going to go. Because when the CBR goes up at Bank of Uganda, definitely the banks will also increase their borrowing rate. It's just controlling the appetite of borrowers. We have to take drastic decisions as businessmen, and it all begins from our homesteads. I would always say it all begins from our homes, when you know that today, if your wife is driving, you're also driving, why should you drive through cars? Let one drop the other. If you can't drop the other, use public means. Even if you both say, my wife, please get on a taxi. I get on a taxi, we park the cars. But just because we have that social being, that kind of, all the time we want to prove a point in public, we feel that once somebody sees me on a border or on the taxi, then it would make it more worse for me. And this has created a lot of challenges. I've seen some people have taken decisions. Me, I would tell someone and say, if you dropping children in school all the time, every day, you're spending a lot of fuel, and then you're paying a lot of money. Get the boarding school, put your children. Yes, some people may not agree, but if you don't take your own decision, then you're going to suffer yourself. If I say I'm spending a lot of money per month to drop and pick this child, and I can't afford, I would rather say, let me take a decision and put my child in a boarding school. I have solved something. I have saved money that goes every month and every day. Because this car that picks and drops, if you look at now the vans that drop children, the rates are so high. Now, when you're paying all that money, cut it off, and then you find that you have some little money to feed your family. These are decisions we have to take as individuals. Then, of course, we go to our businesses and also cut costs and make sure that if I used to eat 3 meals, I'll eat 2, and which is okay. So it all goes to us, to individuals. How do you find life in your house? If you feel things are tough, take decisions in your own house. And make sure that you're doing the same, because things are getting tougher each day. It's not about being in public and complain things are tough. Yes, what are you doing about it? You're still driving 2 cars, you're complaining things are tough. But people see you spend, fuel. You're still eating 3 meals. I mean, me when I was growing up many years ago, we used to eat 2 meals. Even up to now, I eat my 2 meals. We thought it was suffering, but maybe now we've realized it is healthy, to have breakfast and have your lunch. Maybe have a 16-hour intermittent fasting to correct your digestion system and have fun. So we use these tactics to make sure that we are surviving and we are not spending money that we do not have. Definitely, it all begins with us, right from our homes. I find it funny now when I see people going to supermarkets. You're buying bread, yes, you're buying jam, you're buying brewband, you're buying ketchup. Yeah, this time say I'm buying on a brewband. Or if I don't have it, let me take bread home. Can your children know that you can take bread with no jam or brewband? Do you have the capacity to tell your child that today we don't have brewband or jam? If you're a parent out there and you cannot tell your children that today I didn't have money for brewband or whatever, then you have a challenge. Because yes, children will always put us on pressure, but it all begins from us to know that children know that this time we didn't have money to buy brewband, to buy jam. And it's okay to move out of the supermarket with bread with no jam. Oh, if we said we cooked cassava yesterday and we're using our cassava as our breakfast tomorrow, can the children go through it? It's not bad. Can you do it? And can you see how beautiful it is to eat some little cassava or sweet potato as your morning, breakfast? I mean, these are things that we've grown up, some of us. But can we have the capacity to say, I cannot go to supermarkets and buy brewband and I buy this? So most of the parents, when they can't bring them, their children are a problem. Many parents don't have capacity to tell their children, today I didn't get money to buy brewband. So these are some of the things that it goes back to us. What do you see? How much do you earn? How much is your salary? In business, how much do you get out? So these luxury shoppings are no longer there. So if I can't have money to go to the supermarkets, you find supermarkets struggling. They have the products, but we're not buying. Maybe you used to go to the supermarket and spend 500,000. Now I go with my 50K, little, and I'll come back after 2 weeks or 1 week. Yes, I know there are parents who say, how you can't adjust. Please, we cannot adjust. It's just because we put ourselves at a pedestal where we think, yes, how would they see me not coming out with a big basket out of the supermarket? But this situation, you have to adjust yourself. You either accept it, but it will hit you hard. It's hard to talk to people who are struggling. We are struggling. I myself am struggling as well. As a brand, customers are nowhere. But I pray gratitude whenever I wake up and say, I'm alive. We only need to go through this system, accept to go through the challenges, and we emerge the best. There's no life that is free from troubles. It's just because we just need to know that life is a meander. So we are now meandering through this situation that came on the, 2020, from 2022 we've been struggling actually. We didn't even know we would get even 2020, 21, now we're in 22. We'll soon be 23. Things will get better, I believe. There's nothing permanent, but it was a shock to show us that things cannot be taken for granted. I know the government has learned, we have learned, so it's a learning lesson. We just pray for long life and pay gratitude whenever we wake up alive.
You can really see what the private sector is going through in regarding to the ways to curb the inflation and how they're being affected. And of course, they're trying to do their best to ensure that they minimize the massive expenses and of course, get to profitability. So what is the way forward for them? And of course, they're doing whatever it takes. So that was a very interesting insight in a one-on-one with one of the famous entrepreneurs in the country. And of course, he's been telling us what he's feeling about the current inflation. And of course, also talked about the central bank rate versus the current inflation. And that all adds up and makes business a little bit difficult in such a time. All right, looking at the inflation here, we see that the annual headline inflation, this inflation is measured by consumer price, that's index for Uganda, of course, for the 12 months to October 2022, increased to 10, that's 0.7% compared to 10.0, that's percent registered, of course, for the year ended September 2022. For the year ended, the month that has just ended, not the year, that's September 2022. So this was mainly driven by the increase of prices of commodities and of course undercore inflation that increased to 8.9%, and of course in the year ending October, in the month ending October 2022, as compared to 8.1 that's registered ended September 2022. Of course, the other driver was food crops related items information that increased to 25.6%, and of course in the year ending October 2022 compared to 21.6% still registered in the year ended September 2022. All right, the increase in the annual core inflation was mainly attributed to annual other goods inflation that increased to 11.2% in the year ending September 2022. That's from 10.2% recorded in the year ended August, that's 2022. Particularly maize flour increased to 91.5%, that's in October 2022, compared to 60.2% in September 2022. And rice inflation increased, that's to 43.3% in October 2022, as compared to 32.2% in the year ended September 2022. So you can see really what's going on, that every other month we experience an increase in regarding to inflation. But however, the annual services registered 4.4%, that's in the year ending October 2022, compared to 4.5% registered in the year ended September 2022. So that's what is really taking place in there regarding the current inflation in the country and its large term effect to the private sector in Uganda. And of course, at this particular time, we are going to still go back into another short break. More business insights coming up.